I'm back to driving a taxi, but where have I been? Well, that will come later on in the video. Let's get started. So, rolling down Baker Street, this is where I get my first job in what feels like an eternity. I've spent 2 months out of the cab. Will I even remember where I'm going? The lady quite easily asked for Bayswater Station. Now, there's a couple of issues to being off for this amount of time. Firstly, I don't know what the day-to-day running of the streets is like. There could be roadworks all over, and also stuff might have changed a little bit. A quick look on Google tells me it's about 13 minutes if I go down Sussex Gardens. The issue is you have to do this weird little shimmy at the bottom of Sussex Gardens, which I don't like, and there's quite a lot of traffic lights there. So I'm thinking all the way along the Marylebone Road, go over the Marylebone flyover and bear left onto that Harrow Road slip road. Got to be really careful on this Harrow Road slip because more often than not there is a quack sitting there. A Kojak with a Kodak. It's a slang term for police officer with a speed gun. I'm basically going to be going down Bishopsbridge Road and I'm going to come in through Inverness Terrace. As soon as I pull off the Bishopsbridge Road right near Westbourne Grove, the lady just says, "Can I stop here please?" No issues. We are back. It's the middle of March. It feels like January to me because I've not been in the cab since December. Kind of scary to come out here, having not worked in a while and knowing that someone could ask you absolutely anywhere and you got to rely upon your brain to pull it. It's a Monday, so Mondays are a bit more of a quieter day, but I quite enjoy them for how relaxing and easy it is generally to drive around. It looks like it could be a bit of a struggle. Some people were saying that you got to put your name down in advance to get on a rank in Mayfair. You might have just seen, as we drove past Paddington Station, a little bit of overranking going on onto the Harrow Road. Just drive. I find the worst idea is to join onto the back of an extremely long rank because there's only 2 places where you can realistically get a job, and that is the front of a rank or from a street hail. Or an app, of course, but they're the only places. I'm just going to go around my usual hunt, try and find these spots where it kind of works. I actually enjoy my job because there is a wonderful pleasure, relaxation, problem solving to driving around in your own personalised vehicle. This is my own vehicle. I love the feel of this steering wheel, just sitting here, observing London, listening to a podcast or the radio, and someone sticks a hand up and you have to think on the fly, mentally calculate that route like some sort of puzzle and get them there as efficiently as possible and collect money for it. It's a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Look, I've just come out as me. Just going to go for a pleasant drive really and just listen to some tunes and hopefully you're going to come enjoy this as well. Now, driving around, it does seem a little bit quiet on the streets. And what I'm doing as I drive down Piccadilly here is ascertaining which cabs in front of me have got jobs on. Ideally, I want to be following a cab that has a job on. There's no point following line after line of empty cab because that minimises my chance of potentially finding a job on the street. And fortunately, this pays off as I turn right into St James's Street. A hand goes up on the street there and a gentleman wants to go to Waterloo. He tells me he's had a wonderful lunch and he's just excited to get back home. He lets me know on the route that there was a closure on the Mall. Now, I let him know it's more than likely changing of the guard, but as we get through Marlborough Gate, Marlborough Road, it becomes apparent that it's actually a closure on Horse Guard Road. No dramas here because I'm going to go along the Mall, through Admiralty Arch, around King Charles I Island, and I'll pick up the route from Whitehall, go in via Parliament Street. We'll get our left onto Westminster Bridge that way. En route, he asked me, how is trade? How is business? And I say to him, I don't really know at the moment because I've been off work for almost 3 months. Now, if you're a regular viewer of this channel and wondering why you've not seen an upload for some time, it's because I went on a solo trip in Southeast Asia for just over 2 months. And it leads to really good conversation. He lets me know that he himself just recently spent 3 weeks in India. So travel most certainly broadens the mind. And it was awesome because hopefully it means I've skipped that slack period of January and February in the taxi and I come straight back into March. And let me tell you, I feel incredibly enriched and energized. If you want to learn a little bit more about my travel experiences, then I share a weekly Sunday summary email. It's entirely free of charge where I share what goes on behind the scenes of this channel. All those links will be in the description down below. We make it over Westminster Bridge and we come in through the tunnel entrance for Waterloo Station. You can see just how banged out with cabs it is, as there's cabs actually right back to this tunnel. It's been a very long time since I've seen that happen. I dropped the gentleman at the super weird drop off because there's lots of construction works going on here, and head off. Now, rather than join the back of this rank and is potentially a long wait time and incredibly unpredictable, I want to introduce the sponsor of today's video, who is incredibly predictable and reliable. That is YFood. Now, YFood have been a very long-term sponsor on this channel, and for a simple reason: they're tasty, convenient, and nutritionally complete. I always carry one in my work bag. I've really missed their huge range of flavours whilst I've been away travelling. It's that real nice sweet pick-me-up. It's cheaper than your average meal deal, and it's packed with vitamins, minerals, and a really good macronutrient profile. Basically, you're getting quite a lot of protein from one of these bottles, and you'll be very hard pushed to find that anywhere else. Inside my work bag, I always bring a ready-to-drink bottle as well as one of the bars, because you never know where you're going to end up, and I don't want to leave the idea of good nutrition to guesswork. So YFood has me covered there. As I'm recording this, I'm rocking the creamy cookie flavour, and there's some 34 grams of protein inside this bottle alone. They're a really great option if, like me, you're really guilty of skipping meals, and because they taste so good, you're never going to want to skip a meal. Best thing is that YFood are offering you a full 10% off site-wide. That applies to these ready-to-drink bottles, the bars, and the powder ranges. You don't need to have a minimum order, and there's no maximum on that either, so go absolutely crazy with that. If you want to get yourself stocked up with these tasty drinks, then just use my code, which is taxi-YouTube, or use the link down below. Cheers again to YFood for sorting us out, and now let's hopefully get a job as quick and convenient as you can get a bottle of YFood. So leaving Waterloo Station, I want to check out the London Eye area. There could be some work there, maybe the rank is a little bit empty, but also I want to check out the Upper Ground area. You might remember there's a little bit of a restriction there that Lambeth and Southwark have brought in, basically stop people travelling the whole length of Upper Ground. So when it's quite quiet, it's always good to have a little refresher of some of these roads. I initially get hailed right near the Shell Centre. Now, I let the people know here there's actually just a taxi rank across the road.
And I'm jumping in front of them. Okay. So if you go down there though, I'll let the taxi driver down there know that you're joining them, yeah. They'll lynch me otherwise. Okay. They've been waiting patiently and I just come along, yeah. So take care now.
And I go a little bit further down, and luckily right by the National Theatre, I pick up this job here. They hop in and they want to go to the Leather Market. I never heard of it, but they'd let me know that it's on Weston Street. So it's going to be near Leather Market Street, Weston Street, in that kind of Bermondsey, London Bridge area. Now, I initially head out on Stamford Street, but traffic always builds up on this little junction here by Blackfriars Road. So I skip right down Hatfields, and that pulls you out on the cut. Annoyingly, the Borough of Southwark has chopped and changed around with these bits since COVID, but it works perfectly for the direction I'm heading in, which is in that kind of eastward direction. I basically need to get to Long Lane, Bermondsey, and to do that, I can just go from the cut, forward Union Street, right Great Southwark Street, left Borough High Street, right Great Dover Street, and you get that little left into Long Lane. Now, they're just after Weston Street, so you go past the Sainsbury's, and Weston Street is on the left there.
Oh, sweet. Lovely. Yeah, a little bit of a finicky run because, I mean, I was already up against that restriction. And then Leather Market Street, the Leather Market. I didn't realise there was an area here called the Leather Market, but presumably that would have been back in the days when Southwark, this whole area, Southwark, it's loosely what it translates as, was a lot of the smelly, dirty industries that weren't in the City of London. So London Bridge, Southwark kind of area was where they placed leather tanning, the breweries because they were quite smelly, and also because of the way the wind would blow, it would actually blow those sort of not so nice smells away from the City of London. So they kept all of that industry out of the City of London, and that's why some of the streets around here still bear the names of those industries that were once based here. Nice. It's always a school day in London, isn't it? 3:15 now, and yeah, we'll see how we get on. It's not too bad.
I head back in and I'm thinking, I'm going to go check out the City of London. Again, because I haven't driven around London for a while, it is good to just expose myself to as many areas as possible. This American gent hails me down and just says, Featherstone. Featherstone what? I'm thinking he means Featherstone Street because we're in the city of London, and that instantly triggers for me because when I learned it on the knowledge, I had the association with a friend whose surname was Featherstone. So I mentally placed him on that street. It's only a short little street that runs between City Road and I think Bunhill Row at the other end, with one-way bits as well. Now my brain is instantly thinking Moorgate, 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 because if I get Moorgate, I can just run it straight up City Road and Featherstone Street comes out onto there. But to get to Moorgate, I either have to look back on myself or chuck in a few sneaky U-turns. Keeping it legal, I'm thinking I'm just going to come in from the Goswell Road area. The route's pretty simple. I'm just going to do a right up New Change, forward Little Britain and into the Rotunda. Leave that by Goswell Road and we're going to get a right into Beach Street. And from Beach Street, we're pretty clear of traffic lights. It's just a left into Bunhill Row, set them down on the right. Easy peasy. And learning exactly where the passenger wants to be dropped, I find it's best if I drop them on the corner of Bunhill Row and Featherstone Street. It's one way against me, but it's only a short walk from there. Saves going all the way back out onto Old Street and back in on myself. I go for a bit of drive and it's a serious bit of hunting before I get onto my next job. Almost 45 minutes or so. But really, you've got to come out here and just graft and grind away. It's all well and good asking your colleague, "Hey mate, is it busy out there? Is it worth me coming to work?" Because we all have our own luck. If you sit at home and don't go to work, you're going to earn zero. But at least if you come to work, you are going to earn something, albeit a little bit slower than what you might usually expect. Kipper season is historically around January and February, and the etymology of why it's called kipper isn't exactly known, but there's a couple of theories. Number one, a kipper is kind of a flat fish, so it's the idea that the trade is as flat as a kipper. Or number two is the idea that a kipper is a relatively cheap meal. So kipper season, as in that's all that a cab driver is going to be having for dinner during the months of January and February. Either way, it's still a fun story because it's lingo specific to London cabbies. I head up St James's Street and I'm in the offside lane here, but I can notice over on the near side, there's an old gentleman who kind of seems to be looking out for cabs going past. I do wonder whether it's worth pulling over to the near side, and annoyingly, as I go past him, he does in fact hail a cab down the street. I do wonder why some people do this, but again, it's convenience and ease really. If the cab's already on that side of the street, some people don't really want to inconvenience the driver or the flow of traffic. So the hunt continues. I come down Old Bond Street with all the luxury shops and I get hailed down here. Super annoying because there is actually a cab up ahead on a rank there. Now I know that normally this rank isn't that popular, but this is a weird kind of quiet kippery season, so maybe it is being used. But upon further inspection, I can see that the cab is in the middle of the rank, and as I drive past, I do take a glance and see there's no driver inside of the cab. Now, because of where he's hailed me on the street, it's actually severely limited the options I can take to complete this run. In fact, there's really only one way this can be done, and that's basically up Regent Street. We take a left onto Piccadilly, the left into Sackville Street, if we want to cut the corner off a little bit, is closed, and the left into Eyre Street is also closed. So we have to go all the way to Piccadilly Circus before we can then head up Regent Street. Now it's a Monday at the time of recording this, so I feel confident-ish that it's going to run okay. Luckily, Regent Street isn't too painful for me. We get over Oxford Circus, up into Portland Place, and left into Langham Place for the Langham Hotel. And you can see there's still plenty of cabs outside of the hotel. I head off and I'm thinking I'm going to head to the Marylebone High Street area. I like these kind of areas because they generally are a bit of a hive of activity. There's always something going on. Maybe Harley Street as well, people going to medical appointments, etc. So I take a left into New Cavendish Street and bang, a hand goes up straight away there. The lady says she wants Lawrence Pountney Hill. Now, I do the look on my face because it just completely goes over my head. I can't pull it. As soon as she says it's off Cannon Street, it instantly comes to me. I know I've got to be heading east to get to the city. So I use Weymouth Mews and then turn right onto Weymouth Street, going across Portland Place, do a right into Great Portland Street, and I'm going to traverse over Fitzrovia and into Bloomsbury. Could be a little bit sticky, but I find that Mondays are a little bit more forgiving. We're going to come along via Maple Street, go over Tottenham Court Road, and get ourselves a right into Gower Street. Now, as I come down Gower Street, I have further options of how I can run this. I can either take a left Great Russell Street and go past the British Museum, or go a bit further down and take the left onto New Oxford Street. Basically, all I'm doing here is just looking ahead at the traffic lights. Whichever one's going to be prioritised will determine which turn I take. Left into Theobald's Road, and we do a right into Drake Street. This is that line that's going to drop you down into the city. So once you get down to Holborn, that neatly sets you up for this real nice line that's going to get you into Cannon Street. High Holborn, forward Holborn, over the Holborn Viaduct, forward Newgate Street, and we're going to get a right into Warwick Lane, going past the Cutler's Hall on the right hand side. Left into St Paul's Churchyard, and there looks to be some sort of construction here, worth noting in case I have to come back this way. From there, we go through the Queen Victoria Junction, forward into Cannon Street, and drop them down in Lawrence Pountney Hill. Nice. That flowed fairly well if you ask me. I traverse back through the city, and just at this point here by the Sainsbury's headquarters on Holborn, I have this gentleman who hails me down and says he wants Maida Vale, specifically Greville Place. Pretty simple run. I know I've basically got to get myself up onto the Marylebone Road, and I'm going to be going through Regent's Park and then coming out into the St John's Wood area to get him over into Maida Vale. I don't take the right into Gray's Inn Road because I got stuck in some works there earlier at the junction of Clerkenwell Road and Gray's Inn Road, so I go further along through Holborn and get the right into the Kingsway, forward it up Southampton Road. There's also some works just after Russell Square, so I skip through Bedford Way, forward over Tavistock Square, and I'm going to use Ensley Gardens as though I'm going to be setting for Euston, but just so I can get onto the Euston Road. We do a left, we go on the Euston Road, underneath the Euston Underpass, and back out the other side. Now, as we approach, the gentleman asked me if I can go through Green Park. Pretty certainly means Regent's Park, but of course that's the route I'm going to be taking. I wouldn't want to be doing anything different here. So, traverse over, get ourselves into the York Gate so we can go around that western side of Regent's Park. Following on the sat-nav, it wanted me to go over the park. We come out by the Regent's Park Mosque, right onto Park Road, and I'm going to forward it up Wellington Road. Now, as we go up, and just before I make my left into Marlborough Place, the gentleman asks me where I'm going.
Right, so do left for Marlborough Place, right Abbey Road, left Boundary Road.
I drop him off and he legals me the fare. What does legal mean? Well, just means they pay the required amount, whatever's on the meter. Just more cabbie lingo, i.e. he didn't leave me a tip, he legaled me the fare. I'm busting for a toilet, so I stop at the St John's Wood shelter. There's public toilets right by the park here. Feeling better, I head my way back into town. I'm going to aim for Baker Street as I was earlier, and I'm lucky to get hailed here on Park Road. This lady with the crutches just wants to go to Victoria Station. Now, this is a proper nice line, just straight down Park Road, Gloucester Place. You do that right onto Oxford Street, round Marble Arch, down Park Lane, round Hyde Park Corner, down Grosvenor Place. For some reason, there's all these cones out on Lower Grosvenor Place. We get our right into Buckingham Palace Road, and she just wants to be dropped by the Shakespeare here. I head off into the Belgravia Knightsbridge kind of area, and on passing, the Berkeley Hotel is empty. From my experience of driving around today, it's incredibly rare that I've seen a rank actually empty. So I jump straight on point here, and in just 7 minutes or so, I have this passing gentleman who wishes to go to Canary Wharf.
Come in this side, sir. Come in this way. It's a bit dangerous, that side.
He wants to go to Ontario Tower, Fairmont Avenue.
Yeah, that's it. E14, that's it. I know, Ontario Towers, Fairmont Avenue.
So it's pretty much a straight line from here. We just have to get ourselves out onto Knightsbridge. We take the Hyde Park Corner slip road because I want to be getting down past Buckingham Palace, down Constitution Hill, through the Mall, through Admiralty Arch, and then we're going to be going out from King Charles I Island along Northumberland Avenue. From here, we just run it out along the river. I say to him that I'm also a tour guide. Would he like any extra facts along the way? And he absolutely loves this. It's one of the ways I love adding value to any kind of passenger. Doesn't matter whether they're here with their family, here for work. It's always nice to know a little bit more about the city that you are in. Probably more so if you're here for work, because you're not really seeing it, you're just here for work. And I'm super pleased we're doing this job on a Monday, because Upper Thames Street, Lower Thames Street, it all rolls pretty well. Had this been on a Thursday, then this would have been back to back with traffic. We eventually just roll our way out there, and it takes 40 minutes or so, but we get him there and it's a nice easy job. Drop him there, he's pleased as punch and gives me a little tip as well. Nice. From Canary Wharf though, unfortunately it is a long old drive back in. I have a little scope out in the city, but as I go down Fetter Lane, you can see the sheer amount of taxi lights coming towards me. It's probably going to be a little bit quiet for this hour. I have a little sniff around Soho, going up Dean Street, around the square and back down Greek Street. This hand going up here. Gentleman just wants to go to Camden. It says St Augustine's Road. Takes me a little while to pull it, but eventually find out that St Augustine's Road is that bit near Camden Square. So it's quite imperative to how I run this route, because you've got an LTM that sits in the middle of that kind of area. If you want Camden Square, you've generally got to come in from Camden Road. If you want St Augustine's Road, you've got to come in from Agar Grove. I'll be honest, on the way up there, I couldn't think of the best way of running this. I knew I needed to get out of Soho and straight up Tottenham Court Road, that's imperative. But I couldn't think of the way of actually getting in. It's only once I get to Hampstead Road that it comes to me. Forward into Camden High Street and then right Plender Street. Left Royal College Street, right Randolph Street, and that forwards into Agar Grove. And then from here, you can get into St Augustine's Road from there. Because I'm in this part of town, it's always worth coming down past St Pancras Station. Because the rank at St Pancras Station sits within a one-way system, even in quiet times, it can be completely wiped out of cabs. So it can be luck just to be passing there and being able to jump straight onto the rank. Today, I'm not so lucky. It very much is banged out with taxis and I don't fancy joining the back. I'd rather actually try and actively be busy and try and create a bit of luck rather than just being stuck at the back of a rank. I head back to St James's Street area because that whole Mayfair area has been pretty lucky for me. As I'm heading up St James's Street, I have a proper eye contact job. I notice there's a gent standing on this middle island here and he's looking at taxis. Now, depending on where I stop the taxi, I think will determine which taxi he gets in. i.e. if I stop closer to the lights, he's likely to jump in the taxi behind me, or if I stop strategically by him and catch a bit of eye contact, I think he's going to jump in my taxi. And yep, that's exactly what he does. Hops in and he's just after Belgrave Square. It's actually against the law for us London taxi drivers to tout for business. We're not allowed to do what they do in some countries where they open the window and they say taxi, taxi at people, even though you can clearly see that's what people want. We just kind of have to go by cues, wait for that hand to go up, wait for them to solicit the business with us, because touting is illegal. So on this one to Belgrave Square, I use the underpass so I can drop in from the top, going back past the Berkeley Hotel, using Wilton Place, Wilton Crescent, and we're into Belgrave Square. So I head along Pall Mall, and I'm just quite enjoying the slow driving. 20 mile an hour London is actually really good when I'm looking for a job, because that's the perfect speed to be looking for someone who's going to have you down. If the hand goes up, you have plenty of time to react, slow down, and pull over appropriately to pick them up. I have to make my way over to Covent Garden before I get this job outside La Ballerina restaurant. Gentleman wants to go to Highgate. What a touch, that's perfect. And even he remarks upon the fact that very often him saying Highgate usually makes the cab driver's eyes light up, because more often than not, there's always going to be a cab driver going home that way. The most difficult thing about this route is just getting out of Covent Garden. From this point on Bow Street in Covent Garden, there's only two options when you're trying to head north. You either do a U-turn and then you come back down, use Tavistock Street to get yourself over to, say, Kingsway, or you go up and through the whole Covent Garden mess to get yourself over to Charing Cross Road, which will set yourself up for Tottenham Court Road and beyond. I opt for that option. So, forward into Endell Street, left Shelton Street, going past Seven Dials, left into Upper St Martin's Lane, and we're going to take a right out onto Cranbourne Street, near Aberdeen Angus Steakhouse. Right Charing Cross Road, and then from there it's just going to be a straight line all the way up to Highgate. Forward Tottenham Court Road, forward into Hampstead Road like we did earlier, all the way up Camden High Street, and keeping in the right hand lane because we want to go to Kentish Town Road. Straight up Kentish Town Road, Highgate Road, and Highgate West Hill. He tells me exactly where he wishes to be the drop, and it's just right by St Michael's Church of Highgate. St Michael's Church is actually at the ground level, exactly the same height as the top of St Paul's Cathedral, 365 feet. It's just before 10 o'clock when I drop him off, and I have a think, do I go back in or do I call it a night? It's the first shift of my week, so I'm thinking that's me done. I now live in North London, so it's pretty easy for me to get home from here. If you've enjoyed this shift, then I highly recommend checking out my extensive back catalogue of shift videos and some of the nuances that I share about driving a taxi in London. See you on the next one. Bye bye.